and welcome back to another episode of Love It or Shove It. It's me, Irina Portnova, with my co-host Bruno Gil, and we have Tobi. Tobi, it's great to see you again with us. It's been a while, and we missed your energy and your presence. And today we have a beautiful topic, which is healing after hurt and how to rebuild trust and love. Tobi, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, you guys. It's been a minute. I'm happy to be here with you all. You guys, check out Love It or Shove It. Add it to YouTube. Subscribe so you don't miss these episodes. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Thank you. So, Bruno, when I'm talking about healing after hurt, okay, can you share something what comes to you?
Yes. So healing after hurt and how to rebuild trust and love. Well, I do like this topic. I think it's obviously very important that you heal, but there's a difference between healing and avoidance. And healing is not avoiding, and avoiding is not healing. If you want to cure yourself, you really gotta have to face everything that you have to face. But don't forget that we're made of belief systems, right? However, a problem is not a belief system. A problem is a problem, and you either believe that the problem exists or you don't. But the problem is still there, even if you don't believe in the problem, right? So very important to cure yourself after you get hurt, right? Very important that not only you cure yourself, you really take some time out for yourself. Don't jump right into something else new, because you need to balance yourself a little bit, right? Especially if you don't know what it is like to be by yourself anymore. Now it's time for you to know again, right? Either know for the first time or know again what it is like to be by yourself, being by yourself. Because sometimes things happen for a good reason, and sometimes it's to remember of something that we always wanted or something that we actually didn't want, right? Sometimes we have to either lose something to win it, or we have to lose something. Sometimes we have to lose something to win something else, or sometimes we have to lose something to get something else, to understand that's not what we want, to then get the same thing again, but now with a conscious and the wisdom to maintain it, because we know exactly what happens if we lose it. Right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Tobi, what do you think about it?
Oh, don't mind me. You see, I had to grab a pen in hand. So you guys that saw me distracted, it wasn't distracted. It was just that so much was coming to me with what Bruno was saying. I had to keep note of it. And,
Awesome.
when he mentioned about the problems, well, that's where your focus is. Where are you focusing? Are you focusing on all of the solutions that are readily available to you, or are you focusing on the problem? So wherever you put your focus is where you're putting your life force. You are paying attention to anything that you put your focus to. So you're putting your life force there. So I would suggest to you all, no matter what experience you've had to live, so what? So what? Because I highly doubt your rap sheet of life is like mine. So what it? That's the easiest way to do it. Okay, so what? Let me find a solution. And if you're dealing with problem solution based, you're also juggling the duality of it. If you want to cancel the duality of all of that, just look for learning. There's learning in everything. And with every new door you learn with, well, more learning pops the surface. Literally.
That's so beautiful.
And
That's beautiful.
I'm
sorry. Yes, go on.
Just another thing before we move on. Bruno had mentioned that where you meet yourself again in your life, you're not the same person who you were 5 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, 20 days ago, a year ago. So it's really important to meet yourself where you are now and relearn who you are from who you feel yourself to be. Not by what you believe yourself to be. Two different dynamics.
I love it. I love it. You know what comes for me? It's like Imagine if we didn't have the experience of hurting. Like, what would be there for us to do? Right? It's like no lessons to learn, nothing to appreciate. It's all just, like stale and plain. Right? So just always connect to that through these experiences we are growing, through these experiences we are learning and becoming, and understanding that no matter what happens in our life, although sometimes we feel like it's impossible to go through that experience, not only we are able to move forward, but we also understand that we are better and we look at life in a different reality, right? So it's like it's all in our perception. So when we get hurt, not that everybody likes to be hurt, right? It's not something that's not preferable, but this is for our own growth. This is for our own good. I always, like ponder upon some of the cases where people meet each other, let's say from, high school, and they get married. And I'm thinking, do they actually live that experience? But something still happens down the road, right? It could be like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, because we were not meant to stay at the same, at the same level. And the growth, unfortunately, the majority of growth happens when we go through the adversity. Wouldn't you agree, Tobi?
Yeah, because when you're creating a constant of a comfort of no change, well, that doesn't produce growth. It's simple as that. It just doesn't. And, I love that this topic is healing after hurt and how to rebuild trust and love. But I live in a place where nothing can hurt me. Mm-hmm. When it's only learning, how does learning hurt? It doesn't. When you get stuck in an experience of something, that's where you alone create the hurt by your believing that it exists. And then you commanding it to be, oh, I'm hurt by this. Nah, I live in a place in an operational system where I've literally, nothing can hurt me. It's all an experience.
I love this, right? It's all in our perception and how we look at things.
Yeah, big time.
Bruno, what comes for you?
Yeah, no, I agree with Tobi 100%. It's not supposed to hurt. It's supposed to be fun and magical, right? And the fun, right? The excitement, it's in the adventure, right? Of going to from where you are to where you want to be, from lack of awareness to being aware, from doubt to certainty, from insecurities to confidence, to lack of self-love to loving yourself, to not knowing where you belong to feeling that sense of belonging, to loads of things, right? From point A to point B, right? And that's where the fun is. It's in the learning process, not in the amount of money you make, because you make that money and that's it, right? It's like, you'll feel that way again when you make that money again. But that's temporary happiness. That it's things that just they come and they go. But the fulfillment, though, that's what stays, right? And so, like Tobi was saying, and very well, Tobi was saying that you're not supposed to be hurt or feel hurt, right? By when you're learning, it only hurts, right? When there's a sense of feeling stuck, or there's a sense of boredom, right? Or there's a sense of endurance or frustration. But there's only frustration when you're learning something you don't want to learn. There's only frustration when you're learning something you don't truly know how helpful it can be for you, right? Because you're not acting on your highest excitement, right? And so it's like, if you really want to draw energy from your own core with all your excitement and stuff, you got to learn something you want to learn, I'm gonna just kind of like say this last thing, because then I've talked for 20 minutes. But this is where people mistake learning. My friend, like, you're not in school, bro. Like, you're not going to school at 8 a.m. to study something you don't even know why you're going to study. It's not 8 a.m. and you're going to study something you don't even care about. You're going to have a test that in a month you're going to have that test, and then in 2-3 months you don't even remember the questions of that same test. It has nothing to do with that. When you're learning in life, you're specifically learning things you really need for your life experience to, continue, right? Because learning never stops. In this life, in the next lifetime, in all the other ones, doesn't matter, right? It just never stops, right? And there's a difference between learning in school and learning in life. And school doesn't teach life. Okay? There's no life in school. There's, like, do this and do that, and you have to put your finger up to go to the toilet because it's such a crime, right? And that's it, right? And you get, you're brought up like, you sleep in a box when you're a baby. Your office is a box. Your goddamn school is a box. You're always inside a place, which is usually a box. And so all these boxes, right, that people want to put themselves in so they can feel safe, is because it sounds familiar, because in every single place people spend the majority of their time with, or inside of a box. A living room, a classroom, a toilet, a room, which is all boxes, all squares, right? So, yeah, that's it, right? Don't forget that when you leave school, you have the opportunity to learn the things that you want. In school, you don't get the opportunity to learn the things that you want. You get the opportunity to learn things that people give for you to learn. It's a different thing. You don't have a choice when you're in school. When you're out of school, you have a choice. There's a difference, right? Simple.
Love it. Tobi?
And when you tie in school, a lot of people may think, well, what does that have to do with the topic? Well, because school has hurt you more than it has healed you. So when you decide and you know that all of it is lies and conformity to make sure that you can conform to be a slave to the system, because that's what school is. It's to train you to be less than who you are and to be somebody that follows and not leads. Well, how do you build the trust within yourself and the love within yourself after you've been conditioned to not do that or be yourself? And school has a huge part in that play. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because a lot of people may think, what the fuck does school have to do with it? Well, let me tell you, has a whole, how many years did you devote to school? Well, that's how important it is to deconstruct everything you learned there, because it was a bunch of fucking lies. Sorry to tell you. And this is why conscious schooling must take precedence over the schooling that has purposely induced conformity and training to comply to a system that must be abolished too. Sorry, but I had to say it. But actually,
I love it. I love it so much. Like, bring that awareness to the masses, because people are still stuck with the idea that you have to take traditional path in order to be happy. But, like, we teach people how to be happy, just connecting to what they love rather than to their 3D reality and their circumstances. Right? So that's the biggest thing. So what I wanted to add in terms of healing after hurt, and like, I just go to my personal life. I used to fall in love like very easily when I was in my younger years. It's like my Leo side, right? And obviously I used to get hurt a lot. So, but for me, it would never stop me. I know for some people, it's kind of, like they have one bad experience and then they don't want to experience anymore. But for me, I guess I was so brave all the time. I was fearless because I wanted to experience that feeling again. So it would never stop me. But the idea was, with each hurt, I was growing, because I was allowing myself to reflect. And, that was the time when I was realizing, that when I was with another person, I kind of lost a part of me each time, because I was so devoted and so dedicated that when I was by myself, that's where I connected again to who I am. And I was like, okay, what is the hobby that I want to develop? What is something that now I have the time to like really dive in, because now I do not have to, like spend the time with another person, do whatever, has to be done. So each time for me, it was a growth experience. And I guess that's what made me so strong the way I am. But at the same time, like coming back to my marriage that just ended recently, like during 24 years, there was like good, bad, and ugly. But the point is that when are we hurt, right, Toby? As you mentioned, when are we hurt? When we allow ourselves to be hurt. Once we come to that awareness that I am in control and I am the one to decide if somebody can hurt me or not, that's the game changer. And that's exactly what happened in my life. I stopped allowing other person to let me to hurt me, right? And I just decided to be in power.
I forgot you were a Libra too.
No, I'm a Leo.
Leo. I thought
I'm
you
a
said
Leo.
Libra. I thought you said Libra.
No, I'm a Leo. I'm the fire.
I am the Libra, the justice.
Yeah, the
for
balance.
all.
Yeah.
Walk in karma, baby. Love it. Yes, I'm Libra, everybody. I'm bringing balance. Kaboom. I am the karmic justice for all. I had to add that. I had to have some fun here with you guys. Yeah, so let's lighten the topic. Hey, guys, so how do you rebuild the trust and the love? Well, you got to rebuild the trust that you have for your own self and your own self-love before you can build trust with anything outside of you or any experience that you have yet to discover. And somebody asked me a great question the other day, and I didn't address it in any of my lives. And this is a great opportunity to address it, because somebody asked, well, if you're living very harsh conditions, how are you supposed to explore and discover and be joyful every day? And how do you do it? Yeah, we're getting horns all over the place. I even got two now. Well, this big gem to drop. How do you do it? How do you stay in the state of exploration and discovery? Because the only one thing you should be seeking in your experience is learning. So if you're always exploring and looking for the learning, you can always stay in joy throughout it all, no matter what you got to live. And you're meant to explore and discover everything that you must. Simple. So
I love it.
For you all.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And it's all like I said, it's all in our perception, right? Some people have it all and they still don't feel happy. And some people don't have anything, but they are so happy in heart, right? At heart.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Can I jump in on that? You know that most people that acquire so much outside of them, it is to try to fill the void within them. So you see, a lot of people think that people that have acquired, Bruno, you got to blow your nose. Sorry, it's driving me crazy. So it must be driving everybody crazy. That leaky drip shit. Go blow your nose. Yes, I will step in as a mother figure right now. Go blow that shit or take your nose off your face. Okay? Sorry, but yes. I can't sit there listening to anybody sniff snot back in their face without blowing it. Go do it, because I'm sure the whole audience. Yes, you're welcome, everybody. Sorry, I had to say it, but no, honestly, I got so into that. Irina, what was I saying before that?
Hold on. You were saying that people are acquiring a lot of outside stuff just to fill that void inside.
Yes, and you know what? It's because they're chasing something to feel loved about. Like they put meanings on their cars, their houses, their bank accounts, but they put no meaning on themselves. Because if they put all that meaning in themselves, they wouldn't be chasing the cars, the houses, the money, the big bank accounts, because it is a contradiction to truly loving yourself. Really, it is. Why would you spend all your life trying to acquire shit that you can't take with you? The only thing you can leave with is wisdom. So you're supposed to be able to love yourself unconditionally and love your experience. But you can't do that if you are creating a life for yourself that leaves you empty and feeling unloving within your being. It's, you know, it doesn't work.
I want to jump in, Tobi. I want to jump in.
Go for it.
I agree.
I'm done.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying, but I also disagree a little bit, because I think that only happens. I think that only happens when like, I think that only happens when like, well, I believe this because it has to work as a bonus. It has to be a bonus. It can't be like, you cannot depend fully on it, because if you depend fully on it, right, you're depending on something that is not showing any emotion back. It's filling the purpose of fulfilling a need. But once it fulfills a need, then it's more that it becomes, it stops being that, right? I feel like, you know, it's like it needs to work as a bonus, not as the full package, right? It's like an Easter egg on a game, right? It needs to work like as a bonus, right? So I love myself, yes. Okay, I made this money. Okay, I achieved this. Okay, I lost this amount of weight. Oh, okay, I gained this amount of weight in muscle, right? Like, these little pleasures should come as a bonus, not as full dependence on it, right? Because people should love themselves whether they're poor or they're rich. People should love themselves entirely, whether they're short or tall, whether they're skinny or fat, whether they're you know, whatever they are, right? But you know, it's normal that those little pleasures, like making money or anything like that, right, can, you know, add to the happiness. But adding to the fulfillment, that will never work, because those things are not meant to fulfill you. Those things are meant to sterilize you spiritually and emotionally. Emotionally not, because of the pleasure, right? It's meant to keep you on a 3D, right? Because 5D is completely different. 5D is on a whole different spiritual level, right? You cannot ascend to 5D. You cannot ascend to, you know, your most highly spiritual self if you're still attached to the dependence or to the belief system that you can only be happy with making money. You can only be happy with this. You can only be happy with that. No, you can be happy in multiple ways, right? It's detaching and letting go of those beliefs that will, you know, make, you know, it's like those fears and beliefs are like gravity. They pull you down, right? But if you detach yourself from those things, there's no gravity, and you just float. You easily go, right? You easily ascend, right? So I agree, but I disagree. I agree that yes, you know, like it shouldn't be 100%, but those little things, like the money, like everything, right? Which is little compared to how big our spirit is, and to how big our knowledge is, and to how big, right, our soul is, right? Really is, right? So yes, so I agree, but I disagree. Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot came to me when you did, as you can see with my pen in hand. Look, this is what determines somebody feeding the flesh and somebody determining the difference, clear-cut difference of somebody feeding their flesh and somebody feeding their soul. Straight up. And it's either you're feeding your flesh or you're feeding your soul. And what are you here initially for? Your soul's evolution, not your flesh's. So whatever needs you think that you have believed into existence for yourself is what you will continue to chase, no matter what it is. Whereas somebody like me, who is on a soul feeding basis and nothing but, I have managed to produce global change in this world, produce and bring to life 15 books without 1 cent to my name or one resource available to me other than myself. So, a lot of people operating from feeding the flesh, of course, they're going to have all kinds of needs. But when you're here to feed the soul and flood the love back into this world, your needs are very different than fleshly needs. Literally.
You know what? I'm about this and that. I'm about the soul and I'm about the flesh, because I came here to enjoy myself to the fullest. So there is no such a thing as something right or wrong, and everybody is here to choose what.
It's not about right or wrong. It's about the choices that they choose for themselves.
Exactly. Because for me, like a good lifestyle is everything. Because that's when my soul is really happy. So it has to be this and that. I don't have I have to choose either or. I have to have this and that.
No, but you see with me, what I mean is, because I am abundant in my state and the universal love that floods me, then everything in all is already mine. So I don't have to break my back feeding fleshly needs to acquire things. I become a magnet for anything that I want. And anything I wish from my heart's desires will appear into my reality. And that is the difference between feeding your soul or feeding your flesh. So what state do you do it from? Me, my primary thing is, hey, I tried feeding the flesh for 50 years and it didn't work. So I started to feed the soul and it has done great wonders for me. That's all. So then from this state now, I can enjoy the adventures of my life for the rest of my life and everything else it brings. But I can't chase things when the universe has a bigger picture at play and wants to bless me with so much more than I could humanly think. So you just got to attract and not limit. And while people are chasing with a certain goal, they're diminishing their highest potential. Literally.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not about chase, it's about attract. But attract exactly what you desire, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. Okay, Bruno has to go. Bruno, thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome.
And we continue our conversation. So we want to continue talking about. Let's talk about rebuilding trust and love. For me, it was never a big thing. Like I was telling you, like I would just get burned, but then I'm gonna jump into that fire again, because that was me. That was me, because I'm like I said, I'm fearless and I want to experience the love to the fullest. And I was doing it over and over and over again. So for me, like I always judge people the way I am, right? Because I feel that if I'm a certain way, people are also a certain way. But obviously, it's not always the truth, right? But for me, rebuilding trust is not a big deal, because I'm always open to new possibilities in life. Again, for a lot of people, it would be a challenge. But the idea is, like whether we allow ourselves to experience something when it comes to love or not, again, it's our choice.
We should never give up on love, though. That's what we're fueled by. Doesn't matter what the experiences we've had before. They no longer
exactly
exist. And you should be always ready to explore and discover anything loving, no matter what the outcome.
Right.
But you got to trust yourself enough to do it. And you got to love yourself enough to do it. And that's the key to rebuilding trust and love within any connection or any exploration of learning. You got to trust yourself the same way you trust your feet walking. You don't have to think about where they're going,
Yes.
Yeah, all the time.
And what comes to me, it's also about, each time we get hurt or we allow ourselves to get hurt, we also learn through that experience. I mean, some people learn, some people, have to face the same patterns again and again until they actually learn the lesson, right? And that's where the beauty of working on the inside comes to the play. Because when we start really stepping outside and say to ourselves, what is there for me to learn? What why am I attracting the same type of people? Like, why are the same kind of people are coming into my life, right? So just realizing that there is a pattern in that, and you want to break that cycle. And the way to break that cycle is like really starting to ask this quality of questions and see what can you release and what kind of behaviors you don't want to have anymore, and what are new habits that you want to have, right? And the personal boundaries, and like be more conscious, and loving yourself more. And there is like a whole list of things that can be done, right? That's exactly what the coaches are working with people. But the idea is that everything is manageable, and there is a solution for any problem. So if the person is willing to work on themselves, they are going to meet the best love that they can even imagine for themselves. Tobi, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and what people have to realize is when they're having setbacks in their life, because they're not problems, they're setbacks in their life, it's for redirection. Because when you're using the discernment of your heart, everything comes with ease. There's no conflict or chaos whatsoever. When you're listening to your heart, you can manifest your true heart's desires in a blink. Where the distortions happen is what you think you deserve, or what you think is the problem, or what you think is the hiccup in your life. When everything that happens to us is a lesson for us. It's either to teach us how to love ourselves more, teach us how to be more compassionate, learn how to trust ourselves more, learn, and they're all self-related lessons. You can't teach another person a lesson. No, you can't. So it's got to be their acquiring of the lesson. Literally. But yeah, I do agree. Totally. And
Right.
guys, you got to take a look at yourselves. And the only learning that you must master in this lifetime is about yourself. And if you're constantly changing, well, the learning's constantly going and never ending. Simple.
Yes, absolutely. So what kind of tools we can give to people for, really start rebuilding their trust and love?
Well, they got to take a look at themselves first, to really get to know who they are. Like Bruno mentioned before, talking about revisiting yourself, and I mentioned you got to relearn who you are. So I suggest that you all take a pen and paper. You put your name at the top of it, and write down everything that you believe to be right about yourself, the good and the bad, because there is no good or bad. So let's drop it like negative and positive. Write down everything and don't think about it. Let your soul tell you what you are containing in your being. And then you take a look at it. Why must you do this and extract it from your being to look at it? It's because your body data processes peripheral visually better than anything. So you must remove it from you, take a look at it after you've written it out, for you to data process it and assess it. Anything that you read that doesn't sit well with your heart, intentionally remove it from your being first. Because once you've created yourself and your belief systems and put that foundation of your being, well, then you're going to learn to trust what you've installed in your being instead of what everybody else has put there. And that way, learning to trust yourself a little more also gives you the ability to be able to love yourself a hell of a lot more.
That's beautiful. You know what comes to my mind also, like when you are seeking the new love, right, after you've been having a bad experience, have also written down all the qualities that you want to have that person, right? And sometimes when you do not know exactly what you want that other person to have, just go back to your bad experience and see what you do not want to have, and then come from the opposite. So if the person was not listening to you, was not attentive to you, now you want somebody who gives you plenty of attention, who is a good listener, right? If the person never had the time for you, now you want the person who really has the time and spend that quality time with you. If you had the person who was not connecting to you because you didn't have the same interests, now you want that person that you enjoy doing things together, right? And so on and so forth. So sometimes if we get stuck and not knowing what exactly do we want in our partner, we start going back to the bad experience and see like what is exactly something that I didn't like about my last partner. And we are gonna write something in the opposite direction and sit with that and look at it, right? Because you can actually receive the person that matches all the things that you're putting on the paper, but it requires some work to be done, right, Tobi? And what work we are talking about?
Well, you know, I'll throw Dr. Joe Dispenza's line in here because this was one of the biggest shifts in my life was, would you date you? That's what he says. Would you date you? Well, if you don't know that, you better take a look at who you're operating as. Because everybody's seeking a perfect partner.
Right.
But is not interested in becoming that perfect partner. And half the time, everything that we're seeking in somebody else is something that we are not providing for our own being. So all of these qualities that you want to list down for that perfect partner, you better make sure that you're embodying the same thing. Or it'll never align. You'll never manifest it. Because the frequencies won't be the same.
Absolutely. It's not only about having that ideal partner, but it's also to be that ideal person yourself.
You got to be divine and in your divine energy to attract your divine.
Yes, absolutely. But then it's just, you know, to put the work in. Work on yourself. Because once you work on yourself, you are gonna match that person that you want, that you wrote on your list. Read it every day. You could put it like on your nightstand. Read it in the morning when you wake up. Just imagine that person. It doesn't have to be like, you know, you don't have to like really know all the details of the face, but just, you know, imagine what does it make you, how is it gonna make you feel if you actually with that person that is your true love. And just feel the feelings, because those feelings are gonna really shape up that reality, and you're gonna see the opportunities, and you're gonna be introduced to the people, or you're gonna run into the people that really match your description. But the warning sign is there are gonna be a few of them, but not everybody's gonna check each box. So the universe really testing us, right? Saying, is it really precisely something that you want? And I always compare this energy to when I was searching for the job. It's funny enough. It's like, you know how they say, if it rains, it pours. Sometimes when I start looking for the job, it's like barely somebody calls, barely the interview. And once I have the job, all of a sudden the recruiters started to call me and say, hey, we have this opportunity, we have that opportunity. And the same happened with the relationships. As soon as you already started dating somebody, you see like other people are coming back, because it's just how our energy works. Once we are on the right frequency, we start attracting, right? So the idea is, if you really want to stick with that list and have that person to match each box, to check each box, then wait for that person. Don't settle for anything less. Right, Tobi?
Very much so. And energies either merge or repel. So you could sit there and want this and want that and want that, but if you are not embodying all of that, you cannot attract it. You guys will miss each other. Because you'll both be on different frequencies. So you won't even have a chance to see if you repel or merge.
Right.
You know?
So the idea is the willingness to have the patience. And I think it's everything when we are manifesting in life. The willingness to have the patience and the trust. Knowing that that person that you truly desire is already also searching for you. And it's a matter of timing when you two meet. And meantime, while you are waiting to meet that person, work on yourself. Become the better version of yourself. So this way, when you match each other, when you meet each other, you're going to be a perfect match because both of you worked on themselves, and you know exactly how to handle every situation in life, not to lose yourself and or lose your partner. So this is like something when you become more conscious how to really experience the best in your life and in your love.
Yeah. And in order to really enjoy any kind of partner, you have to really be able to enjoy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't see all of your great qualities shining in you, well, then you won't see the great qualities of that magnitude in anybody else. And that's why it's so important to embody love for yourself and self-care, and be kind enough to yourself to speak your truth and to be loving to yourself and not enough to honor the feelings that you get out of every experience, because that is the true learning.
Yes.
And what's meant for you is not going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it's okay to be alone, because we all have to have that time for ourselves to reflect, to heal, to go through the process, and then we come like that what you call it, that the bird, the phoenix from the ashes, right? We rise up and we are going to be more empowered, we are going to be more stronger and more loving ourselves, so we can actually rebuild that love that we are seeking.
Yeah, and if you don't trust yourself, you can't trust anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's so self-reflective when it comes to what people are doing. And, trust that if you're not feeling well now, take the time to heal before you jump into anything. If you've had bad relationships, if you have been hurt, I don't want to belittle that to people. If you have these beliefs and you are affected by these beliefs, well, it's not easy to be living what you're living. And it's not easy to sit there and believe that you are hurt or you are broken or somebody else has hurt you, or you've accepted wrong things in your life. Don't look at all of that. Look at what it taught you. Look at the strength it gave you. Look at the endurance and the determination you had to overcome all of these hard things that you had to endure. Pat yourself on the back all the time and keep going. Everything is mere learning. And guess what? That's the joy of every day. When you close your day, the next day you wake up, you're a brand new creation.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love it. So this is it for today. Tobi, thanks so much for joining our conversation today. So great to see you. And again, remember that healing is the process, but we all are able to heal, and we all able to rise up and rebuild that trust and love that we truly worthy of living. Thanks so much and have a great day. Bye.